Hello and welcome to another modelling video. This is Alan from the McConaughey at YouTube with another 3D printing video. Before we start, I want to talk about my experience with filaments. I use PLA and fairly blindly on my Creality series 3D printer, and I've had mixed results. Some really amazing 3D printing systems which has been water damaged for well over 5 years, has come out perfectly and smooth like this pink on the Charizard, and a fairly new straight out of the package Chinese import on eBay that just gave terrible artifact lines, and wondered what was the best way to go around it. My conclusion was to try another local brand, 3DFILLIES. Can still save money by buying in bulk, but what this one was fairly interesting to my causes is the large 3 kilo reel for continuous printing with larger models, especially with my massive Ender 5 Plus and slightly over a kilo builds with helmets and weapons. To solve the moisture issue, it comes with a massive Ziploc bag that you're able to reseal and store your filament when not in use. Moisture damage involves that this is a very dry plastic and it will take atmospheric moisture, react with being extruded with heat by slightly prior the plastic was dehydrated, warping, not adhering, or developing little blisters or air bubbles. The printer of choice is an upgraded Creality Ender 5 Plus 2nd generation, a 0.6 tungsten nozzle, aftermarket Capricorn Bowden tube, the extrusion head upgraded and changed multiple times to suit, especially the hot end thermosensor, filament runouts disconnected and bypassed, and finally swapped to a third party bed level sensor. I allowed the bed to preheat for a good 30 minutes at a highish temp and coat it in hair lacquer spray. Allow the X and Y access to home and then the bed to auto level. With a test string, a filament and the brim of the model laid out, I'm able to adjust the Z-axis screws to get that nice first layer squish. After about a foot of filament, I ran out of the old filament and was able to compare with the new. The pigment density of the semi-transparent Chinese filament is a massive difference in quality and a lot smoother laying on the bed as well. There is no shame in using glue on your bed, though I did come across some issues regardless of the perfect first layer, and that this filament is huge and very heavy and was unable to be supported on the back rack of the printer. I also was too impatient to build more of an appropriate spool and tried all sorts of ridiculous rigging options, leading to threading it through a broom on a few cardboard boxes, which worked out to be sufficient. My choice of test model was another 28mm wargaming piece from the 40k universe, a hover tank from the Space Marine Ultramarine chapter, a large forge weld piece that would normally be trickier to print unless in many pieces. It was scaled up from the Epic line. The issues I came across were of my own making, of the model splitting in a few sections, which were glued and putty filled without any issues. I also had the screws of the bed fall out as I didn't pre-check and tighten. Regardless, it came out great, a fantastic menacing piece that only required a few coats of super cheap auto filler primer. A second piece was a full-scale necron monolith in one piece. There was a slight shift and another smaller split that was easily fixed with glue. The supports came out with a little bit of convincing, but not too much issue. I was able to smooth out the Z-axis layers by applying a butane blowtorch, which is helpful in fusing the model in one piece and being stronger to degradation, and allow for a lot less sanding. You do need thicker walls closer to 2mm for this to work. Another 2 to 3 hits with super cheap auto filler primer lacquer paint, beating a bit of putty in some of those splits, and it is ready for sanding and painting. This is my first time playing with PLA Plus, I didn't find it much difference in heat and processing, though the quality is quite nice. The models came out ideal, no clogging, no drama, no issues besides silly little mistakes that I've made on my larger printer. It is trickier to manage multi-hour, multi-day large prints. But I'm very happy with the results, and it came out with some pretty sufficient models for myself and my friends. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, until next time, stay tuned for further content, and we'll catch you guys later.